everybody that is with us today. Again, folks, if there's anything, if you have questions, having any issues, feel free to use the chat to let us know. All right, off we go.
Awesome. So, for anybody who is new to the PEI Arts Grants, they are here to support the professional artists of Prince Edward Islands. I'm going to stress professional a lot throughout the course of today because it's really important that everybody on this call and who is planning to apply for the grants understand that that is who these grants professional are based on PEI. They are decided through a peer-assessed grant application process, which we'll get into a little bit more the further into the thing. But basically what that means is that Eliane and our colleagues here at Innovation PEI do not make any of the decisions. Oh, yeah, I think this is going to be a rough one. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to stop moving and try and sit as still as possible. Eliane and I do not make any of the decisions. It is a peer assessed process, which means that it is your peers, your professional artistic peers who will be making the decisions. And we will get into that a little bit further in here.
Merci Shannon. Donc, le programme de subvention aux arts de l'île du Prince-Édouard existe vraiment pour soutenir, stimuler le milieu artistique de la province. Et les subventions sont octroyées aux artistes professionnels de l'île. Donc, ça, c'est quelque chose sur lequel on va mettre beaucoup d'emphase aujourd'hui. Le statut professionnel d'un artiste, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? C'est quelque chose qu'on va expliquer plus tard dans la présentation, mais c'est vraiment un programme là, qui est pour soutenir les artistes professionnels qui vivent et travaillent ici à l'île du Prince. Next slide.
So the most important date for everybody on this call right now is October 20th at 4 p.m. because that is the application deadline. Here to just honestly beg you not to leave it until 4 p.m. to submit your application. Technology is great until it's not, and what often happens is that people tend to be really working on these applications until the last minute, which means there are a lot of applications coming in at 3:55 p.m. on the deadline day, and sometimes bad things happen to technology. And so to save you the frustration of that happening, I want to strongly encourage you to submit your application early if you are able to. But if you're not, we get it, we understand. 4 p.m. Monday, October 20th, that's when everything shuts down.
Donc, la date limite à retenir pour le cycle des subventions de l'automne, c'est le lundi 20 octobre à 16h. Et ça, c'est 16h, heure de l'Atlantique, parce que c'est que vous êtes en voyage à la date limite. Donc, peu importe dans quel fuseau horaire vous êtes, la date limite est ferme. C'est vraiment le lundi octobre à 16h. La technologie, c'est notre ami jusqu'à temps que ça ne l'est pas. Il arrive des problèmes techniques parfois à la dernière minute, donc on encourage fortement aux gens de soumettre leur demande avant la date limite pour prévenir des problèmes. Et puis, c'est ça, on n'accepte pas de demande en retard. So we don't accept late applications for this program. C'est un programme très, très compétitif. Il y a beaucoup de demandes, donc c'est super important là, de respecter la limite.
So there are 3 different types of grants that are available to support professional art at PEI. There is the CREATE grant, there is the SHARE grant, and there is the LEARN grant. So CREATE is a creation grant, SHARE, you might also know it as a dissemination grant, and LEARN could also be referred to as a professional development grant.
Donc, le programme de subvention aux arts offre 3 types de pour appuyer les artistes de la province. On a la subvention créée, qui est une subvention de création, partagée, qui est une subvention de diffusion, et apprendre, qui est une subvention de perfectionnement professionnel. Chaque volet répond à un objectif différent et nécessite une demande différente pour y avoir accès. Et vous pouvez présenter une demande à 2 volets par cycle de financement, mais seulement une demande par volet est autorisée. Donc, vous pouvez soumettre une demande et apprendre, mais pas 2 de partager, pas 2 d'apprendre. Et vous ne pouvez pas présenter une demande pour 2 volets pour le même projet.
So with the create, share, and learn applications, there's a bunch of eligible activities, ineligible activities, that sort of thing. But it's really important to know how many applications you can apply, what you can apply for, that sort of activity, that kind of thing. So one of the things that Leanna just mentioned was you can apply for multiple grants at the same time. So you can apply for up to 2 grants. You can apply for grants in the same stream. So you can't apply for 2 create grants at the same time. And you can't apply for multiple grants for the same project. So you can't apply for like a create and a share in support of the same activity, because ultimately we would want to see, and what the peer assessment committee would want to see, is that you would fully complete the process of the create grant, and then you would come back again maybe and apply for the share grant for the next phase if the timing worked out that way. So that's just something to keep in mind. We have seen artists who have applied for more than one grant for different projects in the same round. I don't think we've ever seen anybody actually get funded for multiple grants. We've seen somebody come close once, like it's really quite down to the wire. But yeah, it is possible. I don't want to dissuade you from doing it. I just want you to know these are your options. So for eligible activities for Create, the greatest gift of the Create grant is that it gives you the gift of time. So you are an artist who just needs time to create. Your living expenses, or at least a portion of them, because life is expensive, are an eligible cost. So you can apply for subsistence up to, I believe it's $800 a month. Is that correct, Eliane?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. You can apply for subsistence coverage under Create, which basically just means that maybe you don't have to be working a couple extra day jobs, and gives you time to just focus on writing or painting or whatever it is you need to do, that you need time to focus on creating whatever incredible thing it is you're going to create. For the share grant, those are really for how you are going to put your work out into the world. So tours, presentations, exhibitions, performances, screenings, like it's kind of the world is your oyster. So you've created this incredible thing. How do you want to share it with the world? That's what that grant is there for. And then learn is my personal favorite, if I'm being honest. And I wish more people did actually apply to it, because it's such a cool opportunity for people to apply for funding to get some training. You can't use it to do like full-time learning or anything like that, but if you have an opportunity to do an internship or a mentorship or some short courses or anything like that, that's going to help you really develop your skills and move your artistic practice forward. We all know there's something. The Learn Grant is there for you, and it is a very cool opportunity that you should definitely look into. Conferences, events, all those things.
Merci, Shannon. Donc, les activités et coûts admissibles pour le volet créé sont les frais de subsistance. Donc, si vous avez besoin de prendre du temps pour rédiger un roman, si vous avez besoin pour réaliser une nouvelle série de peinture. Vous pouvez demander, dans le fond, vous pouvez avoir jusqu'à 800 $ par mois pour couvrir une partie de vos frais de subsistance pendant la période de création. Vous pouvez aussi couvrir vos frais de déplacement, d'hébergement, les coûts dans le fond direct liés au projet comme le matériel, les fournitures, les frais de documentation si vous avez besoin de local pour répéter ou louer de l'équipement. Tout ça, c'est couvert par la subvention créée. Pour la subvention partagée, les activités admissibles sont des choses comme des tournées, des présentations, des expositions, des spectacles, des projections, ça peut être aussi la publication et la traduction. Et pour le volet apprendre, donc le professionnel, les activités admissibles sont toutes les occasions de mentorat, d'apprentissage, de stage, de résidence que vous pouvez voir pour faire votre pratique artistique. Ça peut être des programmes de formation spécialisés à court terme. Ça peut être aussi prendre un atelier ou en offrir un. Vous pourriez participer à un séminaire, à une conférence ou d'autres événements majeurs qui, encore une fois, servent à vous permettre d'acquérir de nouvelles connaissances de pratique artistique. Ce programme-là, apprendre, le volet, pardon, apprendre n'est pas admissible au programme à temps plein pour les programmes scolaires à temps plein, mais ça, on va rentrer dans les coûts non admissibles, les activités non admissibles dans la prochaine diapo. Shannon?
Ineligible activities and costs. So capital costs. Can't be buying stuff. Anything that you're buying for your grant, it needs to be a consumable. It needs to be something that you are buying that is very much in support of the project. So like if you have to buy canvases, you have to buy paints, you have to buy brushes, like that kind of thing. You can't buy a new camera or a new guitar or a new computer, like those kind of big ticket items. Those are a no. Festivals, contests, nonprofit organizations, you're not eligible to apply for this funding, which we understand is a bummer, but it is what. And artistic activities that are led by non-professionals are also not eligible. So you'll see when you go into apply, it'll ask you if you are established, if you are emerging, or if you're an amateur. And if you're an amateur, the only thing that you are able to apply for is the Learn Grant. And we'll get into in a little bit distinguishing between established, emerging, and amateur, because it can be a bit of a challenge.
Thanks, Shannon. Donc, les activités et coûts inadmissibles, il y a les coûts de capital. Dans les coûts de capital, on inclut notamment les ordinateurs, les imprimantes, le matériel technologique, le mobilier de bureau. Vous ne pouvez pas acheter de terrain ou de bâtiment pour votre projet ou un véhicule. Donc, ça, c'est ce qu'on considère les coûts de capital. Ensuite de ça, il y a aussi les organismes à but non lucratif ne sont pas admissibles à ce programme. C'est vraiment pour les artistes. Tout comme les festivals, les concours. Puis, finalement, je vais aussi mentionner que les activités artistiques qui sont menées par des non-professionnels ne sont pas admissibles. Donc, il faut vraiment que les activités artistiques qui font l'objet de la demande soient menées par des artistes professionnels. La dernière chose que je vais mentionner aussi pour la subvention Apprendre, je mentionnais que les programmes d'études à temps plein n'étaient pas admissibles et aussi les activités menées pour satisfaire aux exigences d'un établissement d'enseignement ou scolaire, ce n'est pas admissible. Les coûts admissibles dans ce cas-là comprennent les frais de programme, le matériel, les fournitures, ainsi que les frais de déplacement.
Jillian just said, and I think I mentioned it earlier, full-time school programs, not eligible. It needs to be short courses, that sort of thing. Furniture, leasehold improvements, buying a house, buying a car, any of those kind of things. Those are all no's. All right, what is professional status? Okay. It is not based on your age. I feel that is very important to point out right away. And I mention this mainly because we just finished doing an intake for the PEI Arts Awards, and we were talking about the senior arts, the Father Adrian Senior Arts Award, and I feel I may have offended somebody by suggesting that they should apply for it, and they were under 60, and I think they took offense to that, and it wasn't because of their age, it was because of their very storied career that I was suggesting that they apply. So it is not based on your age. It is based on the stage of your career, whether you are emerging, established, or amateur. We have this incredibly handy template that you can use to help you create your artist CV. You definitely need to include your artist CV. It is very important to understand that an artist CV is not a bio. People confuse these all the time. And also, your artist CV is not your regular everyday CV if you are also working kind of like a 9-to-5 day job type thing. Excuse me. Whoever's in that peer assessment committee who is reviewing your application, they don't want to know about your day job if you have one. They don't, if it doesn't pertain to your artistic practice, they don't want to see it. That is not what they're looking for. So we don't want to see your regular everyday resume, right? What we want to see, what we want to see is your artist CV, and that artist CV is very much about your artistic accomplishments, any training that you've participated in, any exhibitions that you've been in, any performances, any awards, any like cool press moments, anything like that. Like that is the kind of stuff you want to see on your artist CV. What your peer assessment committee does not want to see on an artist CV is that you're working at Receiver. We love Receiver. I have coffee running through my veins. And when it's not coffee, it is Lady Baker's cream of berry tea. Thank you, Shannon, who works over there. But we don't need to see either of those things on your CV because it is not relevant to your artistic practice. We only want to see your artistic practice relevant information on your artist CV. And I can see that there was a question that just popped up saying, would you still expect the CV if applying as a group? Absolutely. You can tailor make that CV so it details you guys as a group, if you have group accomplishments, or you can input your individual things if you are like coming in as a collective, whatever makes the most sense. But what the ultimate point of that artist CV is that artist CV is going to help distinguish where you are at in your stage of your career. So the more information that you are able to provide on that artist CV that really shows where you're at and what you've done and how you've progressed through your artistic career, that's going to help demonstrate whether you are emerging, established, amateur, what have you.
OK. Thanks, Shannon. Donc, c'est quoi le statut professionnel d'un artiste? Le statut professionnel, c'est basé sur le stade de la carrière d'un artiste et non sur son âge chronologique. Donc, peu importe votre âge, c'est pas ça qui va déterminer votre statut d'artiste. Dans le cadre du programme de subvention aux arts de l'île du Prince-Édouard, on a 3 catégories d'artistes, les artistes émergents, les artistes établis et les artistes amateurs. Et ce sur quoi on se base pour déterminer le statut de la catégorie d'artiste, c'est vraiment un CV artistique. C'est ça qui devrait être en mesure d'appuyer votre identification et de montrer démontrer au comité d'évaluation le stade de votre carrière. Vous pourriez être considéré comme un artiste amateur aussi si vous démontrez un grand talent artistique et que vous voulez faire carrière dans le milieu des arts. Les étudiants de 16 ans et plus peuvent soumettre une demande. Parfois, un parent ou un tuteur légal doit signer la demande pour l'étudiant. Et les artistes amateurs sont seulement admissibles au volet à apprendre, donc le développement professionnel du programme de subvention aux arts. Donc, c'est vraiment le CV d'artiste qui est votre outil principal, dans le fond, qui va vous permettre de démontrer au comité dans quelle catégorie vous vous situez. Et puis, on a un super guide d'informations qui vous montre comment faire un CV d'artiste, quelle information inclure, quoi ne pas inclure. Donc, un CV d'artiste, c'est différent de votre CV que vous utilisez là, dans la vie de tous les jours pour faire une demande d'emploi, disons, au gouvernement ou à la ville. Donc, le CV d'artiste, ça ne devrait pas contenir vos jobs qui n'ont pas de lien avec le milieu artistique. Donc, c'est vraiment cet outil-là qui va aider le comité à vous évaluer par rapport aux autres artistes qui ont soumis des demandes.
Right.
Puis on avait, just before you jump in, Shannon, on avait aussi une question là, de quelqu'un qui demandait est-ce que on doit inclure un CV d'artiste si on présente une demande comme groupe, en tant que groupe? Et la réponse est oui. Soit que vous soumettez vos CV d'artistes individuels, donc chaque membre du groupe soumet son CV dans la demande. Et vous pouvez aussi avoir un CV de groupe là, qui liste vos réalisations, vos accomplissements, les spectacles que vous avez faits, les albums enregistrés, si vous êtes un groupe de musique, par exemple. Puis vous pourriez inclure une bio détaillée de votre groupe. Fait que ça devrait faire la job, comme on dit. Thanks, Shannon.
Okay. All right. So the things that you are going to want to include in your application. You're going to want to include a project description. Eliane has created this really helpful template. It is not a requirement, but it will make your life so much easier, and it will make the lives of the peer assessment committee so much easier if you at least use that as a guide. It contains all of the questions that you're going to need to answer anyway for your application. So, highly recommend employing it one way or another in your application. So project description, basically you're going to have to answer, it's like being back in elementary school. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. That is what that is what you need to do. If you can answer those questions, job. A detailed budget with income and expenses. Really can't stress enough how much your peers appreciate a detailed budget. The budget template is a spreadsheet. You download it. It's Excel format, but you can use it in Google Sheets. You can use it in, what's the Apple version of it? Sheets? I don't know, numbers? Anyway, whatever it's called. Whatever piece of technology you use to make spreadsheets, you download it from our website, you put it in there. You can add as many line items as you need. And I apologize if this sounds really basic to you because you understand spreadsheets, but sometimes people don't know this. So I am telling you today, add as many line items as you need so that you can get as specific as possible in the spreadsheet. So you can be like, paint this much, canvas this much, travel this much, what have you. Whatever it is you are spending money on, break it down. Don't just put in a budget that says, I want $8,000. You will make no friends that way. It's so hard for your peers to assess that application when they are looking at a budget that is not broken down, that details are not provided. Give them the details, help them help you. I'm 100 years old. I just made a Jerry Maguire reference. It's fine. Give them those details, guys. We've already talked about the artist CV. You're going to want that. And then support materials. please, please. You are all artists and you have created things and you're going to create things. We want to see samples of those in your applications. If you are a musician, include links to your music or links to music videos. We want to see past work. Give us demos if you're looking to record new music. If you are a visual artist, we want to see samples of the work that you've created. Maybe it's line drawings of something that you are going to work on in the future. If you are a writer, we need to see samples of your writing. I am saying all these things because these are always forgotten. Without fail, there is always, unfortunately, people who do not end up including these examples of previous work or work that in progress with their application. And it is so hard for your peers to evaluate your application and whether or not it is going to be feasible when they don't have all of the information. And I realize that this is a really small community, but you can't assume that whoever is in that room knows who you are. Because they might not. Or they might know your name, but they might not know your work or your body of work or what you're actually capable of doing. Because it's the island. Everybody knows everybody's name maybe, but they might not know what you can do. So do yourself the biggest favor ever and include those samples of your work and make sure that it's there so that whoever is looking at your stuff understands it. And then my ultimate piece of advice is give yourself the time so that you can share your application with a friend who doesn't know anything about what you're doing and get them to read through it and see if they understand what you are trying to do. Because if they can understand it, because everything's going to make sense in your head, right? So if they can understand it, and you already understand it, obviously, then your chances of that peer assessment committee understanding it are so much better. You really want to get like just an impartial third party to review your application before you submit it. You know, after you've done the spell check, the grammar check, do those things. Like after you do all those things, use your Grammarly, do all that. Get a pal who doesn't know anything about what you're applying for to read through it, see if it makes sense, check your math, and then submit it. And I think you'll find that that will be incredibly helpful for you. I'll stop talking now.
Thanks, Shannon. Donc, qu'est-ce que vous devez inclure dans votre demande? Comme Shannon le mentionnait, donc, il y a certains documents obligatoires que vous devez inclure. Premièrement, il y a la description de projet et les détails de sa réalisation. Donc, la description de projet, c'est les grandes questions, le qui, quoi, quand, comment, pourquoi. Donc, c'est de l'information qui va permettre au comité de sélection de comprendre votre projet, de savoir ce que vous voulez accomplir, puis c'est comme ça qu'ils vont vous évaluer dans le fond. On a créé un gabarit pour vous simplifier la vie et la nôtre. Donc, on vous encourage à l'utiliser. Ce n'est pas obligatoire, mais si vous voulez, il est disponible sur la page web du programme. On vous demande aussi d'inclure un budget détaillé avec les revenus et les dépenses. Pour ça aussi, on a un gabarit que vous pouvez télécharger et remplir. Puis, je vais mettre l'emphase sur le mot détaillé, budget détaillé. Donc, c'est important de vraiment mettre le plus d'informations possible dans votre budget pour que le comité de sélection comprenne comment vous allez utiliser la subvention, puis pour qu'ils puissent voir que votre projet est réaliste, que c'est atteignable, que c'est possible de faire le projet avec les sous demandés puis le budget que vous avez présenté. Donc, super important. Mettez plus d'informations que pas assez, toujours. Vous devez aussi inclure votre CV artistique. On en a déjà parlé. Vous pouvez consulter notre guide pratique qui va vous aider à comprendre quoi inclure. Puis, dernière chose à inclure qui est super important, ce sont les pièces justificatives qui illustrent certaines de vos réalisations, certains de vos accomplissements artistiques. Donc, si vous êtes un artiste en art visuel, assurez-vous d'inclure des exemples d'œuvres que vous avez déjà faites. Si vous êtes un musicien, une musicienne, assurez-vous d'inclure des chansons, des compositions que vous avez déjà créées. Si vous êtes une écrivaine, autrice, auteur, on veut voir des exemples de textes que vous avez déjà écrits, de la poésie ou de la prose, peu importe. Donc, assurez-vous vraiment d'inclure le plus de matériel de soutien possible parce que les membres du comité qui vont évaluer votre projet ne vous connaissent pas nécessairement. C'est important de se rappeler que oui, OK, on est une petite île, petite communauté. Les gens vous connaissent peut-être de nom, mais ne savent pas ce que vous avez fait en termes de réalisation artistique. Donc, c'est super important de leur donner plus d'informations que pas assez. Shannon et moi, on ne le répétera pas jamais assez. Mettez des détails, ajoutez de l'information, ajoutez des pièces justificatives pour rendre votre demande encore plus forte.
The only other supporting material that I didn't mention that is definitely worth including is if you have letters of support from your planned collaborators, especially if you are working with a community that you don't normally work with. Definitely include those. So say you are planning to work with somebody from the Indigenous community, you want to have that letter of support that confirms that you are working, that they do plan to work with you type thing. So like if you're working with like Julie or Richard or whatever, like you want a letter for one of them saying, yes, we're going to work together. Or if you are, recording with Adam Gallant, get a letter from Adam, or at least get a I have suddenly blanked on the word I'm looking for.
It can just be an email too, like a screenshot.
Yeah, like something that confirms like their interest in working with you. But what I was looking for was also like especially with the recording projects and things that are going to cost money, because recording projects do cost money. Same as like music videos, film projects, any of those things. Anything support documents that you can submit that are also just kind of like showing that you've really done the legwork, that you understand what your budget costs are going to be. So like estimates, that's the word I was looking for. So get an estimate from like whatever, some of the technicians that you might be working with if you're going to employ a producer or a sound engineer or whatever. Like if you've got those people on board, if you can include that additional little bit, it is very helpful, because oftentimes we will see amounts come in those budgets that don't really make sense. And if you have those estimates included, it helps. It will help you, because otherwise the people who are reviewing those applications are kind of like, that's not a realistic amount. And it makes it harder for them to, champion your project. I will now stop talking.
Donc, juste pour ajouter, pour répéter ce que Shannon a dit, c'est un très bon point. Dans les pièces justificatives qu'on vous encourage à inclure, il y a les lettres de soutien. Donc, les lettres d'appui de collaborateurs qui travaillent avec vous sur le projet, ou bien de personnes du secteur des arts et de la culture qui peuvent confirmer que vous avez les capacités de réaliser le projet pour lequel vous faites la demande. Ça peut être aussi des estimations. Si vous travaillez sur un projet comme en film, par exemple, où il y a plusieurs composantes budgétaires, ça aide aussi d'inclure des estimés des coûts qui vont être reliés au projet, juste pour rendre votre demande encore plus solide aux yeux du comité de sélection. C'est tout ce que je voulais ajouter pour ça. We can go to the next slide.
So we've referenced it a lot that your applications are reviewed by a peer assessment committee. So we follow what is called the Canada Council for the Arts model. It is 6 peers from different artistic practices. So in the room, like what we attempt to do, like you'll have somebody from music, somebody from writing, somebody who maybe is an arts admin worker, somebody who is a dancer, somebody from theater. Like we try to really, visual arts, like we try to really cover all the bases as best we can. Different communities. different areas of the province. Like we really try to think geographically, we really try to think about gender, we really try to think about ethnicity, we really try to think about artistic practice. Like we really try to make sure that that room doesn't just look like us and it isn't just whatever. Like there's like a good level of diversity in the room as best we can, so that it is reflective of who is applying. Question in the chat, can this grant be in conjunction with the Canada Council of the Arts grant? Absolutely. Oh my God. There is a question later on that was submitted earlier about seeking other levels. 1000% yes. Yes, please. Anyway, so your peers are the ones who are reviewing all of these applications. Again, as I mentioned before, it is not Eliane or I or anybody within government or these offices. It is an outside body who does all of the applications. They are actually sworn to secrecy about your project ideas. It is a cone of silence situation. They are asked to keep whatever relationships they have at the door. And if they do have any sort of conflicts, they either recuse themselves from evaluating those projects or they recuse themselves altogether, depending on the situation. A juror or peer assessment person would not review any applications that they themselves have an involvement with, and those involvements would be something that they would benefit from or that they are like related to, like somebody that they live with, somebody that they are related to, that sort of thing. And yeah, it is an anonymous, ish process. We do release the names of the jurors at the end of the process when the Arts Grants reports are published. So the Arts Grants reports are published once all of the assessments have been completed and everybody has been notified of the results. You can find all of the Arts Grants reports that have been published on the web. Eliane has been posting links in the chat there for everybody, just so you can see them. They're such a handy little thing because it gives you a really good, a good glimpse into the kinds of projects that past peer assessment committees have really gravitated towards, the kind of projects that seem to really fit in line with the mandate of the Arts Grants. It also shows you like what the scoring matrix is, that sort of thing. It's helpful. I find it very helpful. There's also information there about how to become a member of the peer assessment committee. So you can nominate yourself if you would like to join the committee in the future. You can nominate yourself to join, or you can nominate somebody else to join. I strongly recommend joining the peer assessment committee, especially if you have applied for the Arts Grants a couple of times and you haven't been successful. It is the best learning ground probably for figuring out how to write an Arts Grant, is to be in that room and to like learn from all those applications and to like have those conversations with your peers. It is such an incredible experience because peer assessment committees are fascinating. It is a fascinating process.
Donc, pour l'évaluation par les pairs, donc toutes les demandes qu'on reçoit dans le cadre de ce programme sont évaluées par un comité. Je l'ai appelé comité de sélection tout à l'heure, mais c'est vraiment un comité de sélection par les pairs et ça suit le modèle du Conseil des arts du Canada, donc au niveau fédéral. Et c'est des comités qui sont formés de 6 pairs provenant de différentes pratiques artistiques. Donc, on essaie d'avoir des comités qui sont très variés. On s'assure d'avoir des gens représentant les disciplines de musique, art visuel, théâtre, danse, édition, écriture, tout ça, pour s'assurer qu'on ait une belle diversité représentée à la table. Et puis, ce sont des gens aussi de toutes les démographiques. Donc, c'est important pour nous que les comités d'évaluation reflètent le milieu des arts et de la culture de la province. Vous pouvez, si vous voulez faire partie d'un comité d'évaluation futur, vous pouvez vous recommander vous-même ou recommander quelqu'un d'autre et postuler. On a un lien, je l'ai mis dans le chat, si jamais vous voulez soumettre une demande pour en faire partie La dernière chose que je vais mentionner, c'est qu'on a des rapports du programme de subvention aux arts. Donc, le processus comme tel d'évaluation est confidentiel, mais une fois que les résultats sont publiés, que les artistes ont été avisés de leurs résultats, là, à ce moment-là, on publie un rapport qui donne un aperçu, dans le fond, des subventions qui ont été accordées dans une ronde et ça vous permet d'avoir une belle idée là, de ce que le comité soutient comme projet, ce qu'il recherche et puis ça vous donne toutes sortes de détails aussi sur les critères d'évaluation. Donc, on vous encourage fortement à jeter un coup d'œil à ces rapports-là parce qu'ils sont super, super utiles. J'ai aussi mis le lien pour ça dans le chat. Shannon?
So we haven't really talked too much about this, but the arts grants are an incredibly hyper-competitive process. Usually we tend to receive a lot of applications. And because of that, incomplete applications, they won't be passed on to the peer assessment committee. We just can't do that to them. They tend to be reviewing anywhere between 80 and 100 applications each round. So we realize how incredibly valuable their time is. So we won't pass along any applications to them that aren't fully complete. So please keep that in mind when you are sending stuff. That said, if when you are uploading your application, you aren't able to upload everything you need to upload, you can email things to Eliane and I. It happens all the time. Because there's definitely going to be limits on what you're able to upload. There's always like file size issues, et cetera, et cetera. So don't panic, but please don't leave it to 355 on the 20th. But if you submit an incomplete application, like make sure your budget is the budget that has the numbers in it. Make sure your project description is a project description that has the project description in it. It's little things like that. It happens, right? Like sometimes people upload the wrong doc because they've labeled something incorrectly, or you know, maybe you have a bunch of working docs and you say something wrong. So just double check that whatever you are uploading is the right file before you upload it. Maybe save it, name it a certain way so that you know what it is that you're uploading so that you're feel good about it. So do not upload an incomplete application. It's not going to get passed along. The assessment, it's a point system, it's artistic merit, achievability, and impact. And we do our best to get the results to you between 6 and 8 weeks after the grant deadline. So after October 20th, you should hear from Eliane between 6 and 8 weeks, which we realize this time of year is getting pretty close to Christmas. And we will do our best to make it as close to the 6 and not the 8 as possible. But you have to understand that we can only control so much. So we do our best. And yeah, you will hear from us one way or the other, whether you are successful or not, you will hear. It might go to your junk mail. Government emails, for whatever reason, end up in the bad folder. So, because this has happened more times than I can count, where we will randomly hear from somebody months and months later, and they'll be like, "We've not heard from you," and we're like, messaged you repeatedly. Like, I've had people who've been successful that I've like had to email like so many times, and then I'm like in their DMs, and I'm like trying to figure out to get them to like respond to me. So I'm like, do you want this? You were successful. So keep an eye out in the 6 to 8 week range, because you will hear one way or another about, you know, how it went. Oh, you're muted. We're all having problems today.
Merci, Shannon. La dernière chose que je vais mentionner sur l'évaluation, c'est que c'est un programme de subvention très compétitif. On reçoit un volume élevé de demandes. Ça peut être entre 80 et 100 demandes par ronde. Donc, c'est pourquoi les demandes incomplètes qui ne répondent pas aux critères d'admissibilité du programme ne seront pas évaluées par le comité. On ne va pas passer des demandes incomplètes compte tenu du fait que c'est très compétitif, c'est beaucoup de travail pour eux. Donc, super important, s'il vous plaît, de vous assurer d'avoir tous les documents obligatoires avec votre demande. Puis, on l'a mentionné, mais je vais répéter, l'évaluation est basée sur un système de points qui prend en compte 3 critères principaux. Donc, le mérite artistique, la réalisabilité, c'est un mot difficile à prononcer, et les retombées. Et finalement, tout le monde va recevoir des résultats, que vous soyez, que ce soit positif ou négatif, que vous ayez une subvention ou pas. Vous allez le savoir, vous allez avoir de nos nouvelles. On essaie vraiment très fort d'envoyer les résultats par courriel de 6 à 8 semaines après la date limite. On essaie d'être plus dans le 6 semaines que le 8 semaines, mais parfois, il y a des choses qui sont hors de notre contrôle qui font en sorte que le processus est un peu plus long, mais soyez sans crainte, vous allez obtenir une réponse et vous pouvez demander des commentaires par écrit après avoir reçu les résultats de votre demande. Donc, si malheureusement vous n'obtenez pas la subvention, cette fois-ci, vous pouvez m'écrire et me demander pourquoi, est-ce que c'est possible d'avoir un petit peu de rétroaction et nous, on est capable de vous soumettre là, des commentaires que les évaluateurs ont fait sur votre demande. Puis ça va vous aider par la suite. Si vous voulez réappliquer, présenter une demande encore, ces commentaires-là vont vous aider à améliorer votre demande pour le futur.
So yeah, once you hear back on your results, if you weren't successful, I strongly recommend that you ask for feedback. You can be given written feedback during the whole review process. The peer assessment committee, they have the opportunity to provide written comments in the room on the day when they finally meet. So there's two phases to how your applications are reviewed, which we didn't really talk about, but they have a few weeks where they pre-score all your applications, and then they meet in person to do like their final assessment and make their recommendations. So between those two processes, there are opportunities for note-taking and whatever, and like providing feedback and that sort of thing. So after you receive your results, you could request feedback, and you really, really should. You just really should. And what I've seen happen time and time again is that after people have received the feedback, which if you are able to reapply again and incorporate that feedback into the application, a lot of times those applications that are being successful down the road, we always strive to make sure that it is helpful feedback. You know what I mean? Like it's something that you're going to be able to use, whether it is for this kind of application or whether you're applying to Canada Council or Music PEI or any number of arts-based organizations that provide funding. We want to see you succeed. So we're going to do whatever we can to help you, do your best with these applications and move forward and stuff. Every peer assessment committee is different, which is another thing to keep in mind. So just because your application isn't successful this time doesn't mean it won't be successful next time. In theory, it's hard to say. So ask for that feedback. Get that feedback, get those comments, see what you can do to maybe adjust your application. If there's things there that can be changed, it can be very helpful to you.
Donc, je pense qu'on va passer à la période de questions. We'll now move on to the Q&A. We are done blabbing. And,
I know, I'm so chatty today. I'm sorry.
No worries. I think we
did lose a couple of people, so I'm like, sorry.
We're going to try to wrap it up within the next 5 minutes. We know folks need to get back to work in their lives. So Justine, if you're able to put the slides back up, we did receive a couple of questions in advance that we wanted to go over and make sure we answer before we open it up to the room. So thank you so much to the person who submitted a question. The next slide, should have the questions. Awesome. Thank you, Justine. Merci, Justine. So questions received ahead of time. Are we allowed to pursue additional funding if the arts grant doesn't cover our entire project budget? Shannon, can you respond?
Absolutely, yes, please. That is both my response and my agreeing to answer. We love that. If you are submitting a budget that shows that you have applied to other sources of funding, we love it. It means that you are really thinking about the project and what is needed and how to move forward with it. It's great. The only thing I will say is that your budget cannot be showing a surplus. Your budget needs to balance. That's my only hot tip there.
Je vais traduire la question. Donc, est-ce qu'on a le droit, est-ce qu'on peut aller chercher d'autres sources de financement en plus de la subvention aux arts de l'île du Prince-Édouard si la subvention de la province ne couvre pas le budget entier du projet? Oui, 100%, absolument. On vous encourage à le faire. On aime ça, voir ça. Si vous avez une subvention de Music PEI ou du Conseil des arts du Canada ou d'un autre organisme qui offre des subventions, c'est quelque chose que vous voulez démontrer dans votre budget. Donc, oui, 100% assurément. Next question we got, should letters of support come from people in the PEI community or can they be from any qualified person anywhere in the world?
I think that if the person who is providing the letter of support is relevant to the project, it's great. They don't have to be from the island, as long as they are relevant to your discipline and to your industry and all that. It's perfect. If you're a musician and you're including a letter from Gavin Brown, I love it.
Donc, deuxième question, est-ce que les lettres de soutien, les lettres d'appui doivent absolument venir de gens qui sont dans la communauté artistique de l'île du Prince-Édouard ou dans la communauté de l'île du Prince-Édouard ou est-ce que ça peut être des lettres de personnes qualifiées venant de partout dans le monde? La réponse est oui. Les gens n'ont pas besoin d'être de la communauté de l'île du Prince-Édouard tant que ce soit quelqu'un qui a une certaine expertise dans votre discipline ou que c'est quelqu'un qui collabore au projet. Il n'y a aucun problème à ce niveau-là. And final question, I'd like to know the average length of time needed to complete a project.
Your project is your timeline. What I always tell people, because oftentimes what happens is people do come back to us and ask for an extension because they haven't completed their project in the timeline that they had originally set out. It's totally fine. You are setting the timeline for your project. So you take the time that you need to do the project the way that you need to do it. The only thing to keep in mind is that you will not be able to apply for another PEI Arts grant until you have completed the project that you receive funding for and have submitted that final report. But otherwise, take all the time in the world.
Donc, la dernière question qu'on a reçue, la personne demande s'il y a une période de temps moyenne dans laquelle elles doivent compléter le projet. La réponse est non. On n'est pas prescriptif par rapport à l'échéancier de votre projet. C'est votre projet. Donc, vous prenez le temps dont vous avez besoin. La seule chose qu'on vous invite à garder en tête, c'est que vous ne pourrez pas présenter une autre demande au programme de subvention aux arts tant et aussi longtemps que vous n'avez pas complété le projet pour lequel vous avez déjà eu une subvention. Donc, c'est la seule contrainte, mais sinon, non, votre échéancier, votre projet est le vôtre et puis on n'est pas, on est flexible là-dessus, il n'y a pas de pression. I think on that note, we'll take any questions from you folks in the room. If you have any that you haven't popped in the chat and that you want to ask, Justine can unmute you. You can come on the camera if you'd like. No pressure. Absolutely not. It's really up to you, but we're here for another few minutes if you want to ask questions. I'll pop our contact info in the chat too, so that you have that handy. Si vous avez des questions, Shannon et moi, on est là pour y répondre. Ça nous fait toujours plaisir de prendre vos questions, de vous aider. So yeah, on est tout oui si vous voulez nous demander quelque chose.